Welcome to the Casual Temple. Today, we're joined by the incredible and ethereal Tahverlee Anglen, an author, spiritual leader, and modern day high priestess who bridges the world of ancient wisdom and our modern age. Through her writings, teachings, and community work, Tahverlee empowers others to reclaim their magic and embrace their own authenticity, helping to create our lives that ripple positive change through the world. As a founder of the Moon Temple Mystery School, Tahverlee guides thousands of paths of ritual, ceremony, and sacred leadership. Her new book series, the Sacred Magic series, is forthcoming from Llewellyn, and it's going to be a whole series of books on magic. And so that's going to be coming out, or at least the first one is going to be coming out in 2026. And that's going to help us all be inspired to embody our power and unique purpose. So Tahverlee, I'm so thrilled to have you on the Casual Temple.
Thank you, Marilee. I'm excited to be here. And I was just saying how much I love your background,
Yeah.
this celestial, feeling. And it's interesting because depending on whenever anybody watches this, but we are
Yeah,
actually at the beginning of the eclipse season that we're recording this. And I'm like, oh, that's all just so synchronistically awesome.
absolutely. Yes. Yes. Well, I'm glad that it matched up to the vibe. I'm
Yeah.
excited for that.
And I'm in red,
Yeah.
red for the fiery blade of the eclipse that's coming. I'm like, oh, this suits my mood and the energy.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, we talked a little bit beforehand, and you need a lot of that energy in your life right now. So you have a lot
Yeah.
of projects that we're going to talk about. But we just like to start at wherever you consider your journey to where you are today, and so everybody can get to know you a little bit better.
Yeah. I was listening to your introduction of me, which thank you, by the way.
Sure.
There was a piece kind of that pulled out for me as a just kind of it just highlighted in my mind, which is, part of my purpose and your purpose, people that hold podcasts or big spaces or talk about things that are meant to improve people's lives. It's just like my heart and my passion. And I think that that's one of the things that often gets confused for witches, right? A lot of
Mm,
people might assume that witches are there to hex or, only practicing, black magic, but really at the heart of the most powerful witches that I know are doing their work to support and create change, positive change and fulfillment and freedom for humans. And there's really no archetype quite like the witch that stands for the idea of freedom for everyone. So
right.
it just started going through my system when you were reading that introduction. It just reminds me of why this work matters so much.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I think you're right on the button as far as most of the people I know that are in this sort of magical space are definitely like very kind-hearted people. They want to put the good into the world and they want everybody to experience like how they can change their lives. So yeah, you're definitely on the pulse of that energy for sure. Was there a specific moment that kind of triggered you or not triggered you, but that set you on this journey? Or was this always a lifelong path for you, or how did you kind of get started?
I love this question. And I think that every time someone asks me it, I probably give a slightly different answer
Yeah.
depending on my mood of the
Yep.
day.
Yep.
But I think all of us, we have many pivotal moments, right?
Yeah.
Not just a single pivotal moment that leads us to magic or wakes us up. And
Hmm.
I can relate back to from when I was a child to adulthood to where I'm at now to all of the moments pivotal moments that, woke me up to the idea that there's more to this life than we've been sold. We've been sold a bag of lies as far as I'm concerned on what's possible and how we should live and expectations and the boxes we get put in. And I know that I have been pushing those standards since I was young
Hmm.
without knowing it at the time. Like I know it in reflection from now to
Yes.
then, right? Like I can, I remember as a child even being just so different, maybe my drive or my fiery determination that was backed up by the fact that I'm a seer. I've always
Hmm.
been a seer, I am clairvoyant through and through, but I didn't know that. And so like my drive as a child made me maybe a little bit different, but I think that actually what was different was the fact that I could see outcomes based upon what I desired, or maybe I saw an
Mm.
outcome and then desired it. I'm not, from the young age, I don't know which kind of came first, but
Right.
I would say that I knew that I was different. And as most of us do, when you're a child and you're different, it doesn't feel good. Like
No.
we don't often embrace the fact that we're weird or on the fringe or different until we're an adult. And, I think all of us, like we go through just conforming and contorting and conforming and contorting, especially for those that are highly sensitive or different, because we don't want to not fit in.
Hmm.
And I relate pivotal moments that got me to here is really the layers in which I stopped trying to fit in, or I stopped trying to be what other people wanted me to be, or even bigger, I stopped trying to fit into what was going to be a successful woman, or a good girl, or a good woman, or a good spouse, or a good mother, or a good daughter. Like those were the most pivotal moments. And what led to those? For all of us, it's, things that are often hard,
Yeah.
right? Like challenges, things falling apart, feeling unfulfilled, all of these things. And, that's stripping away of, how we contort ourselves or how we change ourselves to fit in or to be liked or to be loved.
Hmm.
All of us do it because we live, at least in our part of the world, in a society that tells us that conformity is what gets you happiness, what gets you joy, what gets you friendship, what gets you
Hmm.
love.
Yeah.
And I just started saying, fuck that. Like, and where along the way, maybe a lot inside at first, right?
Yeah.
From, my 20s upwards, like that feeling. And I pushed the edges and pushed the edges. And then as it does happen, I think for all of us, when we're ready, the right teacher appears.
Right.
And when I was first introduced to an official magical practice, it was then that I realized that not everybody was seers. Like I didn't know that how I operated in my spiritual gifts was different than everybody. I didn't know. I only knew me.
Hmm.
And I didn't grow up with people to talk about it too. So when I started like surrounding myself with magical people and I'm like, "Oh, that works that way for you? Oh, well that works that way for you." And, "Oh, what do you mean that collection of things over there by a candle that I've put together of my grandmother's is an altar?" Like, what? I had been doing those things before I had official teachings. And then once, I found the right place to do my first study, which was my first initiate path as a high priestess, then, and that was a long time ago, all the pieces sunk into place. And yet, I still, from then until now, even though I felt like then, I'm like, oh, I get it now, all the things. The more I
Hmm.
learned, the more I realized we don't know shit.
Right.
Like, I knew a lot. I'm like, oh, this is it. I know now how I work and how my spiritual gifts work. And this was, again, a long time ago.
Yeah.
From then until now, I still realize I only have scratched the surface of what we can know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, such what a really cool journey. And I love that you talk about sort of the different pivot points and how those shape us like in our present moment and who we are. So it was really cool. Oh, there's a couple of things. Excuse me. The first thing, would you mind explaining? Some people might know what the word seer means.
Hmm.
Would you mind explaining that for the audience?
Yeah, I'll give a few different labels for this,
Sure.
psychic gifts,
Okay.
spiritual gifts, right? How your intuition works. I look at intuition as like the foundation of your psychic and spiritual gifts, and we all have them, but intuition is like the more palpable word, right? Like instead of psychic
Yeah.
gifts,
Yeah.
and by the way, I love when I meet new people and they tell me about how their gifts work and all the experiences they have. And I'm like, yeah, that's your psychic gift. And they're like, oh, I'm not psychic. And I'm like, oh, yes, you are. Here's
Yeah.
how it works. Um, so intuition being the baseline, right? That
Mhm.
most humans will agree and acknowledge that we have intuition.
Yeah.
A step up from that is how specifically your body receives information from the non-tangible world, from the energetic world. And that could mean spirits, that could mean plants, that could mean trees, that could mean your spirit guides, that could mean more in the essence of dead people. It could mean your higher self, it could mean God, it could mean the goddess, whatever you want to call it.
Hmm.
Something that whatever's bigger and outside of just our human existence, our body receives information.
Yeah.
And when I say seer, it means that in my mind's eye, not in my human plane, in my mind's eye, I see pictures and videos. For me, it's primarily in videos. And
Mm.
now everybody's gifts work differently, right?
Yeah.
Even in the seer category or clairvoyant category, some people see still pictures, some people see it in black and white, some people see movement like I do, some people see only symbols, some
Yeah.
people see only colors, some people see faces, some don't. Some actually see words, which is wild,
Mm.
right? And so that's only one of the kind of, I want to say, like categories we put our gifts into, right? There's a lot. There's, claircognizance, which is, this clear knowing in our body. There's clairsentience, which is like the clear feeling. And I might have those reversed because I always forget. I just call
Yeah.
it clear. Like, do you know it? Do you feel it? Do you hear it? Do you see it? Do you smell it? And the thing is most of these psychic gifts are taught in those buckets.
Yeah.
My experience in the thousands and thousands of people that I have worked with is we don't fit exactly in a bucket. It's
Yeah.
usually a combination and it's a unique combination. The most important thing to know is that it all comes through your human body. So even if it's, when I say, even if it's in my mind's eye, it's still through my eyes, meaning I can train my seer vision with my human sense of my eyes in order to increase my seer vision.
Right.
I can increase my clear olfaction, which is my clear smelling, by actually doing exercises as my human to smell. And so it's a unique combination. And that's my biggest suggestion to people always is don't try to fit yourself in a box because you probably won't find one.
Right.
You won't be able to say like I do now because I've developed and learned how my gift works that I can turn the video kind of on and off at will.
Hmm.
That was definitely not always the case. And sometimes now I can just quickly turn my gift on and get a snapshot and bring it back. But that's always combined with a feeling or a knowing. And if I pause long enough and smell in my nose, I'll get a kind of a confirmation based upon the sweetness of the smell. So there are percentages of these boxes and it changes, right?
Yeah.
The more our gifts come online, the more they change. And also it depends on what you study. It's like we all have muscles in our body, but if you focus only on building a bicep, you're going to get a really strong bicep and your glutes are going to be a little bit smaller.
Right.
Same thing with your gifts. It doesn't mean you don't have a glute. It just means what you focus on is what's going to grow. And yeah, so that's what I mean by seer and clairvoyance. And I think it is such an important part of my practice of teaching people how to really embrace however they want to define magic is to uh, turn on their gifts, turn
Yeah.
them up. And I know not all witches are psychics, not all psychics are witches. Though those are separate categories
Yeah.
of how we participate in the mysteries of life. But I think that our spiritual gifts are such an underutilized essence of our birthright as human, right? It's
Yeah.
our birthright. We came, our spirit came into this human body to still be attached to our spirit. But I mean, I think 90% of the population goes around the world without it.
Yeah, I think, oh yeah, unfortunately, I think you're right. But I do, I'm an optimistic person. I think people like you who are doing this work is going to help people grow their own spiritual senses. And
Hmm.
oh my gosh, I am so jazzed about how you explained how like it comes through your body. That's like my biggest thing when I talk to people. I'm like, your body is the instrument that this stuff is coming
Hmm.
through. And yeah, and I'm like, it comes through me in these ways. It's probably going to come through you in specific ways to you. But I think for me, it was like the trust of like this is what's happening instead of like your
Yeah.
mind like tricking you into like no, it's something else.
And it
That
is
kind of
hard to
thing.
differentiate because
Yeah.
sometimes it just gets planted in your mind.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, learning to understand, and I say that there's always like a way to do a confirmation. Like when you're first
Mm,
learning how they feel, how your gifts feel, if
yeah.
you're worried, am I just making this up? Well, sometimes you are, but that's the way your
Yeah.
gifts might work. Your gifts
Right.
might just come through imagination that happens when you're walking between your house and your car. Like you might be walking down the stairs and get something and feel like, oh, where did I make that up from?
Yeah.
Versus like, wow, that I just got a download as I'm walking down the
Yeah.
stairs.
Right. Yeah.
The best way is to really learn to practice being able to use your body as a pendulum
Yeah.
quickly. So you can, come to your body and ask yourself a question, a yes or no question, and know what a yes feels like and know what a
Mm,
no feels like. So anytime you get a hit of information like that, that you've already primed your body to be able to ask your body, which is like baseline intuition,
hmm
a question, am I just imagining this or did I just get a download? And you want to be able to differentiate between a yes and a no. So I always feel like there
Yeah.
could always be an additional layer, right? You can always
Yeah.
ask the question, is this my psychic insight or is this just me having fear?
Mm.
Am I getting a premonition that I might crash or somebody in my family is going to crash when they're driving that day, or is it just fear?
Yeah.
You sometimes need a secondary way. Of course, tarot, oracle, pendulums, runes, all those things would work, but also so does your body. If you could
Hmm.
prime your body to understand what a yes feels like and what a no feels like. And I'm actually happy to share that ritual if you think that would
Oh,
be
yeah.
useful.
I mean, we're talking about it. Let's do
Okay.
it. Yeah.
So it's really simple. You, in separate sessions for 30 days, separate sessions. So every day for 30 days, it's separate sessions. You practice yes and you practice no. So, for example, when you practice yes, you sit with a hand on your heart and a hand on your belly. And speaking aloud, you ask yourself questions that you know the answer is yes, such as, is my name Tahverlee? Yes. This is what a yes feels like. Hmm. Am I talking to Marilee right now? Yes. This is what a yes feels like. So for about 10 minutes, you just hit the facts of what you know is a yes, and you holding your body. And every time you speak it, you ask the question, you answer it, and then you say, this is what a yes feels like. And then you go about your day. And sometime later in the day, you do the same thing for a no.
Mm.
So same thing, hand on your body, taking a breath. And I might say, is it my birthday today? No, that's what a no feels like. And you do these two exercises in different periods of the day, every day for 30 days. And then in the 30th day, you consider it anchored. And then you have to start testing it. You have to start putting it to use. And it's like a muscle, something you need to work on regularly. So once you've done those 30 days and you've anchored in yes and no, you might test it with things like, do I want to have steak for dinner tonight? Do I want to have eggs for breakfast? And you start listening to the yeses and the nos and do it in the casual, mundane ways and then start bringing it into your practice. So usually within 60 days of doing this and then practicing it, after that, when your psychic gifts come in and give you a little hit, you go to your body and you say, like specifically, is this my psychic gift? Is this, and don't be specific. Don't say, is this my spirit guide? Because honestly, if it's your spirit guide or your higher self, who cares? Same.
Right. Yeah.
You just want to trust what you want to trust what you received. So you
Hmm.
just keep asking the question. You'll know.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's such great advice because I'm sure, as you know, when you start talking with people, or if you're talking with any of your students, or they'll say, "Well, how do I know? How do I know it's real?" And that's literally
Yeah,
like the first question. So that is such a great tip. Everybody, you got to do it. I'm going to
do
do it
it.
even to.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Um, so kind of in your path, just did you have any specific support or guidance? Like, how did you kind of start your way? And
Yeah, I have had many. I have worked
yeah.
with, I've initiated in two different traditions and also spiritually received a third tradition. And I've studied with oracles, druids, shamans, many. I consider myself like one of my main archetypes in my chart as a human is I'm definitely a seeker. So I love to learn. I love to try new practices and see what fits. So I've definitely worked with a variety of teachers, although what I teach in mystery school now is kind of separate between the one initiate path that I carry forward that I received, and that's the high priest and the high priestess path. It's kind of its own thing because I'm honoring the fully encompassed tradition as it is.
Yeah.
Um, and then a lot of the other teachings that I bring forward are maybe I'll say a combination of what I know works based upon everything that I've learned, everything that I've tested, everything that I work with thousands of people on, and it continues to evolve. We all bring new knowledge and information in, and I'll tell you the most influential teachers that I have truly are my students, really, and it doesn't, it doesn't matter how many I was, I've been studying in the Toltec tradition in the last year, and working, with a deep sorcerer, and just even witnessing the way the other students are experiencing the transformation teaches me as much as the teacher. So, witnessing and participating in and experiencing transformation in others
Mm.
teaches me the most, like
Yeah.
by far, at least at this stage in my journey, because especially when witches start to wake up, they want to learn the tactical tools, and they're really important. And once you kind of have that down, you move into different levels of altering consciousness, right? Working from trance states, being able to add power and energy to what you're doing. And that's a different level than just the tools or the recipes, or to understand even how to put spells together. So I I'm grateful for all the teachers that I've had, and I still say they're my students more than it is the, elevated leaders. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I like that thinking about that because they probably bring new things to you. And you're like, how can
All
you
the
think of
time.
that? Yeah.
I get asked the greatest questions, and you probably know by now I have a very large social media platform, and I do a
Yeah.
lot of live streams and a lot of classes. And I love it because there's so many great questions and situations that come up that just really, really influence me. And I have been known to change my mind many times,
Right.
after, practicing something that I believed to be so true for myself, that when you put it with 5,000 people
Hmm.
might alter it a little bit. And that changes for me too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Get a little peek of how you work with your students and your perspective on
Yeah.
that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
So this episode, I'm pretty sure it's going to be coming out on October 1st.
Oh, yay.
Start of spooky season. Well, I mean,
Love
spooky
it.
season starts earlier for us, but spooky season.
Yeah.
And then the first, and my third season of Casual Temple comes out. So you're going to be the
Yay.
first
Congrats.
guest. Yeah.
Let's
So
say
thank you.
congrats, everyone.
Congrats.
Give her some big
Yeah.
congrats. Find her wherever she is. Give her a boost.
Yes.
Give her a review. Give her a thank you for this magic.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Tahverlee. So yeah, like what is your kind of take on everybody, even if they're not witches? Like, but what is your take on spooky season? Like, why do we love it so much?
And isn't it funny? Because even before I identified and knew that I was a practicing witch, but I mean, I was before I even knew that I was, we all have this very fascinating, either completely being repelled by the season or loving the season. And
Yeah.
part of it is because we were raised that we got candy on Halloween. So we have to acknowledge that. And depending on how you were raised, if
Yeah.
that was rare for you, that was like the gold mine of the season. Between like Halloween and Easter, if it's all about candy, it's all about candy.
Hmm.
Um, but as an adult, outside of just the traditional part of the holiday itself, I think that there is, especially for women, there is this awakening of the part of us that likes the descent into the dark,
Hmm.
into dark places. And it is kind of taboo, right? Like to love the dark, and to love the depth of fear and underworld energy, and that's fascinating to women. And I relate that to, because there are so many parts of women that have been, as we talked about, like put aside in order to be pretty and shiny and good, that it's
Hmm.
the one time of year that all the like dark sides that we all have, the edgier parts of us, are allowed to come out and play a little bit.
Yeah.
And we desire it. It's like a little bit of, it's like the constraints get lifted just a little bit so we can explore different archetypes. And I mean, I think costuming and
Mm.
different types of parts of Halloween and painting your face is something we can actually practice year round, because it allows us to be something different than who we've contorted ourselves to be. And I see it all the time. And I love it. I just absorb it all, to see specifically, again, women really stepping out of the cages they've put themselves in and trying something
Mm.
different. And you can see it in
Yeah.
costuming, even just the way a lot of women like to go out with their children, or they like to go to parties. What they're expressing has this little flame of desire in them, and I just love it. So that's one component, right? There's
Yeah.
there's a little bit of the forbidden that we allow out. And then secondarily, humans for a long time have honored this time of year as the descent, right? And in mythology, we talk about it as, it's Persephone's return to the underworld. And, her mother, Demeter, is so distraught that her daughter goes to the underworld to be the queen of the underworld that she lets everything die. Because no human is gonna survive off of living things when she loses her daughter. And the original part of that story says that in most cases, says that Persephone accidentally ate the pomegranate seeds and she was tricked and she was trapped in the
Mm.
underworld, right? And her mom had to, basically petition Zeus to let her up 6 months of the year. But that's the whitewashed version, right? That's the pretty version. Let's talk about the other option. Well, maybe Persephone wanted to go to the underworld. Maybe she
Mm.
wanted to be with a bad boy, dark man that lived, deep into be a queen of her own kingdom to escape, the realm of being good and being somebody's daughter, and she chose it. And she
Mm.
occasionally only comes up and visits her mom, but when the season's done and the wheel turns and the dark returns, she says, "Oh, I'm going to go back to where I long to be, which is edgy, which is, the queen of darkness where I can cast any spell I want that's not being judged."
Yeah.
And so that energy has lived with us, even outside of that mythology, for a long time. So the wheel, and so that's kind of reason number two why we have this fascination, with this time of year. And then reason number three is energetically, our planet in our part of the world changes.
Yeah.
We start having longer nights and shorter days, right? Our crop seasons have come to an end. We're getting ready to enter into the winter season or the deep sleep, the great rest of the year. And that fall is a transitional time. And it's the time when everything dies and starts to rot. And we feel it. I mean, we can resist the circadian rhythm of this planet, and it makes life harder for sure. Our bodies
Hmm.
want to move with the earth because we are part of this planet. We're part of this ecosystem. So we start to slow down. And when that happens, there's a different type of reflection that comes into our energy field, as you know. And it's just different. It's not as expansive. It's more inward.
Hmm.
So I think those three reasons, knowingly or not, that's what we're experiencing. And there's more, of course, it's the dark goddess season. It's, all the different parts of the spooky and the scary fit in those categories. And in many traditions, it's more than just Halloween, right? It's the Day of the Dead. There's lots of traditions that celebrate the dead this time of year because it's the beginning of
Hmm.
the descent into the dark season. And it has been known for thousands of years as a time to cross into the spirit world and honor those that have come before us in many traditions. So yeah, it's an interesting time, and it's sometimes for me my most favorite because it normalizes the things that I
Right.
experience like all year long. It's like,
Right.
oh, okay, I'm a normal human now in the month of
Yeah.
October. You know, the rest of the year I'm not, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. What a beautiful explanation. Excuse me. Yeah, that was such a deep explanation of all those things. And I love like how you're bringing the mythology and just us being humans and the changes in the seasons. It's so true. And yeah, it's always my favorite time of year for sure for all of those wonderful reasons. And so like talking about sort of being sensitive to energy and feeling the energy of yourself and then the world around us, like there's a recent video that you did about energy vampires.
Mm.
And so I'm curious. I mean, I think now a lot of people probably saw What We Do in the Shadows and know about Colin Ferguson as far as like what an energy vampire sort of is. But what is your perspective on what an energy vampire is?
So you want me to just say what I think an energy vampire is or how we allow it to happen? Those are different questions. Oh,
Good question. Maybe the what it is and then how we
okay.
allow it to happen.
So energy vampires can be known or unknown, right? They
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they do it, meaning they might be aware that they're doing it, and they might not be aware that they're doing it. So there's a kind of a big spectrum, and there are narcissists out there. There are people that are not regulated in their nervous system, and they have no self-awareness, and they just desire something so much that when they're with someone that they feel they can gain something from, their energy naturally just starts to suck it. Now,
Mm.
the person that's getting the energy sucked from is allowing it. So we'll come back to that, and I'll tell you why I say that.
Okay.
And so those are the ones that are doing it kind of purposefully, meaning they likely know they need or want something, and they have no qualms about taking it,
Yeah.
regardless of who it harms or who it drains. And then there are a lot of people that don't realize they do that, and that's those that are just not self-aware, right? And we've been around a way that you can know that this is happening is someone who is just going through a lot in their life and they don't have capacity to hold anything from anybody else. They
Yeah.
might talk about themselves all the time. And this might be uncharacteristic for them, meaning this isn't their norm, but they're in this phase where they're either grieving or life is heavy and they're feeling hopeless and they have no outlet. And when you're with them, they're just going to like dump all of this on you. But really what they want you to do is transmute it. They're not trying to take
Mm.
from you. They're trying to get a transmutation of it, but they don't know how to ask for that.
Yeah.
So, right, there's a big variety of what an energy vampire is. Now, the most common question that actually I get about that is what if people are doing it on purpose? What if a witch is trying
Oh,
to siphon your energy on purpose?
yeah.
Totally different question, but I'll give an answer. Um, it takes a lot of energy for someone to put a spell or be trying to siphon energy from someone else. Like they're expending a lot to do any type of spells or hexing that would be considered that. So it is very rare, right? Like for if I wanted to absorb or take from you when we're together, I would have to be giving a lot of my own energy to the spell to be able to do that. So it's a little bit um, rare under the heading of energy vampire.
Mm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thanks for explaining that because I'm sure that's like,
What do you have to add to that? I mean, you know this
ah,
topic.
yeah, for sure. I mean, definitely it's, experiencing certain people in my life, whether um they understand it or not. And then, the next question is going to be, how do we protect ourselves from it?
Yeah.
Um, but for me, it's definitely um trying to protect yourself because, I've had narcissistic people in my life, when you're younger, because you don't know any better. And yeah,
Hmm.
definitely feeling that energy suck and yeah, and like allowing it to happen because basically you're not like saying who you are, like being firm in who you are and having your boundaries is very important. But unfortunately, I do think, and I know we talked a lot about how women are told to behave, like we're kind of told to like not have boundaries and like
Hmm.
not be who we are. And so, I blame some of that on our society and how we're
Yeah.
raised for sure. But I'm glad that we're all trying to, learn how to be stronger in who we are and that so we can protect ourselves in these ways.
Yeah.
But how would you, if somebody is having an issue with like their energy being drained by an energy vampire or other reasons, what's something that you can recommend that they do to protect themselves?
Well, if we remove the word energy vampire
Yeah,
as a whole and just focus on the fact that someone is draining your energy for any number of reasons,
right.
I'm always going to start with the human stuff, right? Like
Yeah,
the human piece of where are you participating and where are you setting boundaries and can you remove this person? Can you love them from afar? Can you tell them off? I mean, ending the situation where you know you're being drained from, if you can,
yeah.
before you do any sort of protective measures. And you see this a lot on big social media, like putting people in the freezer and
Oh, yeah.
doing putting people in a jar. I see a lot of people doing that and not ending the relationship of someone that's doing
Oh,
that.
yes.
And that's why I'm taking energy vampire out and just like saying that it, like, whatever reason you are doing magic to try to stop someone from coming into your field for any reason, you have to do the human stuff first.
Yeah.
Because the magic is going to be completely contradicted. So I'll use the example of somebody at work is, not wishing you well, and you can tell they're like siphoning off of your project and siphoning off of your success, and you can just feel they're trying to like suck things from you and they're talking bad about you.
Yeah.
Well, before you put them in the freezer, the first thing you should do is sit down and talk to the person or a superior or someone at work and just say, "Hey, I'm noticing this is happening. This isn't working for me." And
Hmm.
no matter what their reaction is, all your focus is speaking the truth. And
Yeah.
then you set boundaries. You make sure, like in your personal life, they're not connected to your socials, that they're only communicating this way, that you're not participating in any social events that they'll be at. Like you're actually creating a physical separation. no matter what they do with it.
Yeah.
Then, if you need to, then you put them in the freezer. But you're right, like the human parts, because imagine if you're still allowing it, and you haven't stood up and you try to put them in
Yeah.
the freezer. And it's the same with our, a lot of times, the most often way that this is hard is with family,
Oh God,
right?
yeah.
If it's a sibling or an aunt and an uncle or a cousin or sometimes a parent or um we don't want to fully cut ties, and
Mm-hmm.
we want to try to keep relationships alive, and then in those cases it's just attempting to set boundaries, and if you can't for whatever reason, then set energetic boundaries on yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this requires practicing saying no more than
Yeah.
you say yes. All of this, so that's the first thing. Do the human work before you do the magic. And then number two, like you got to be solid in yourself. You have to know your own energy.
Mm-hmm.
We are the ones that allow leaks in our energy field where someone can penetrate.
Yeah.
And I also did a video recently that says, what if you just let your energy be so big, so solid, so yours, so clear for you, and so contained that nothing can penetrate, like anything would just bounce off. And honestly, that's kind of my practice because I know that when we're solid in ourselves, nothing really can penetrate. And so, work on yourself. Make sure that you understand your triggers, make sure you know your own energy,
Mm-hmm.
have good energy hygiene. Don't carry other people's things, stay grounded every day, clear your field. And if you're grieving or going through hard times, just know that you're going to have leaky spots in
Yeah.
your own, like if you think of your energy field as a big circle, if something, real and hard is happening, that circle is not going to be as tight.
Yeah.
So, make decisions accordingly. Be around people very sensitively, like choose carefully who you're going to allow in your presence. If your energy is a little off kilter, because it happens, where
Yeah.
it happens. So you have to know yourself very, very carefully. So do the human stuff, be very aware of your own energy field. And then number three, do the big magic.
Mm-hmm.
Do high levels of ceremonial magic. If you've done those two things and it's still happening, whether it's from a spirit or a human, because a lot of people will put this like dead people as energy suckers, right? Or that they're
Oh,
inhabiting them. I've dealt with a lot of entities and different issues people have had, and it's kind of all this, you handle it the same. The third step is big magic, right? You
yeah.
grid and seal your home, you grid and seal your own space, you put the people that are penetrating, regardless of what you do, you bury them. Like you be comfortable taking the left-hand path of protecting yourself, because really that becomes then protection magic, not hexing. And protection
Yeah.
magic isn't always the left-hand path of, darker magic. So does that
Yeah.
help?
Oh my gosh, so much. And even you just saying like doing the human stuff, that's so big and so big in all in my experience anyway, is all areas of magic, right? Like even if you do a spell, like
Yeah.
are you doing the footwork to like get that going, or are
And
you
I,
just
I
sitting
think
back?
that that's part of how I sit
Yeah.
in this kind of unique place in my
Yeah.
practice, is that I'm almost like a bridge between spirituality and
Yeah.
witchcraft, because
Yeah.
to me, one without the other is missing a piece. And magic works and it's an influence,
Hmm.
but it can't overcome your like beliefs and your human stuff. Like our humanity is part of our life, and
Yeah.
it gets skipped over or bypassed often. And that's just not the way I work. Like that's just not how I work.
Yeah, cool. Oh my goodness. Well, gosh, I am so excited to talk about your book
Mm.
series coming out.
Yay.
And would you mind sharing how that whole thing came about? Because it's kind of a cool
Yeah.
story.
It is kind of a cool story, and I'll give
Yeah.
a great big shout out to Llewellyn Worldwide, because it is kind of magical. So in June of 2025, I self-published my first book, which if you do it, it's still, because there's old
Yeah.
links out there, you would find it, Sacred Magic, A Witch's Guide to Earth Wisdom. And I did all the promotion and planning and excitement of self-publishing my own book. And then a few short weeks later, I was at this magical event, and I met an employee at Llewellyn, and she was wonderful. And we really just connected. And, she mentioned, have you considered pitching the rest of your books to Llewellyn? I'm like, oh, no, no. Like I didn't consider traditional publishing because I wrote a memoir before the pandemic, and tried the whole process of finding an agent unsuccessfully. So I didn't even
Mm.
it wasn't in my mind I was going to self-publish a series.
Yeah.
So long story short, when my information got passed to the right person at Llewellyn and they contacted me and we talked about, they kind of said, well, darn it, we would have wanted the whole series. And I'm like, well, why can't you have it? And she's like, well, then you would have to like take down your first self-published book. And I'm like, okay, because I had a series, right? So it wasn't like it was just one book, and the book was doing very well. Actually, I still get a lot of people now that had gotten a copy and are just now reading it. So I get a lot of feedback on it. And I was just thrilled. Llewellyn is one of the top publishers since 1903. And so they picked up the whole four-book series. And so we've been in the process of, redrafting it, and they're making lots of great changes, and working with a publishing partner like Llewellyn changes everything.
Right.
And for the better. And I love it.
Yeah.
And I've also learned to love editing with Llewellyn because,
Mm,
they're together, we're focused on a better book.
yeah.
So that's what happened. And so the first book in the series will be re-released in July of 2026. Book two will be released in October, and then January and May for the following. So in a 12-month period, all four books are going to come out, and they're based upon the direction. So book one is the north, which
Mm.
is the element of earth. Book two is the east, which is the element of air. Book three is the south, the element of fire. And book four is the west, element of water. And not only is it, just like the teachings that I do, it is what I teach, but
Yeah.
I have included very, very personal stories of magic, of when I got it right, when I got it wrong, and some big, big things that have happened. And so I share like a big chunk of real applicable ways this, takes place in our life. And every single chapter of every single book has a whole section of rituals and spells.
Cool.
So it's kind of this combination of the teaching, the storytelling, and the magic that you can practice. And because it contains all that, I can only do one direction at a time. Because
Right.
if it was all of them, it would be like this big.
Yeah.
So, and that's how I positioned them. And in between all of this, which I mentioned earlier, is kind of wild. Um, when I first started writing these series of books, I also produced an oracle deck that is all my art. And if you can see behind me, if you're on
Yeah.
YouTube, painting is part of how I channel. And so I took all these channeled paintings and turned it into a deck. And recently, a different publisher has picked up my Oracle deck. So between book one and book two, an Oracle deck that
Right.
matches the books will also be coming out, and a journal.
Phew. Woo.
I
Oh
know.
my goodness.
So the best way to
Amazing.
follow along on what's coming out is I
Yeah.
do have an author website that's just like a wait list page, and it's my first name, tahverlee.com. Or follow me on social, because of course all of this is going to be very public. So Facebook or Instagram, pretty
Yeah.
much any platform you go to, if you type in my full first name, you'll find me. Except for
Mhm.
beware, on places like TikTok, there's probably 200 fake accounts in my name. So
Oh
look
no.
for the one with, 500,000 followers, not the ones with less, because yeah, there's probably 100
Oh
fake profiles in
gosh.
my name. So look for the right one on TikTok. But the
Yeah.
others, it will be easy to find me, and I'll post all of the releases and updates there.
Oh, how exciting. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yes. Everybody follow Tahverlee and get all those updates. Cause yeah, I was trying to see like, could I get her book? Like I was trying to see if I could get her book
Well, if you
before.
ask me on the side, I still have some copies of the first one
Oh,
because I was told to keep it because it's a
oh,
limited edition now. It'll never be printed again.
yeah.
Ask me later.
Oh my goodness. Okay, we're gonna talk later. That's so cool. Yeah, I'm very looking forward to reading your series. I love that you broke it out into the directions because such a good focus and yeah, oh, I love it. I'm very excited.
Thank you.
Yeah, so kind of one of the last couple questions. So you also have the Moon Temple Mystery School, which I think
Mm.
we've been talking a little bit about. Can you tell us about what folks learn when they come join you?
Yeah, there's lots of paths.
Yeah.
The high priest and the high priestess path we've talked about. And when this comes
Mhm.
out, the doors might still be open. If not,
Oh,
email me because the next cohort begins in October and we'll go through, initiation will be sometime in March. And it's the most transformational work we do because we are
yeah.
committing to being in community with a group of people. And this path is where we teach the ritual. So if you've seen me on
Mm.
social media, you see I make like these triangles and move them through my body, and I make these motions and I cast things around me and I
Hmm.
move in different ways. Those are part of the rituals we teach in the high priest and the high priestess class. Outside of that, lots of different courses come up depending on the energy of the year, but I also have some staple ones that people really desire.
Mm.
Um, this time of year, I'm going to do a holy descent,
Ooh.
or a holy darkness, a witch's descent. So when
Mhm.
we talked about that love of all things, kind of deep and dark and fringy and powerful, that people can check out now. That'll be on my website, Holy Darkness. And it is a limited series. It only comes out this time of year. And there are lots of staple courses, and I have too.
Yeah.
I have tons of freebies, and while I'm talking, I'm just going to make
Sure.
sure that everything still is good. I
Oh
love
yeah.
how my computer just decides to change my inputs. Um,
Yeah.
so moontempleschool.com. And if you
Yeah.
follow the offerings, I always update the free offerings. I
Mhm.
love to put free stuff out there. YouTube, any of my YouTube videos will kind of tell you what's relevant in mystery school at the time. And so it changes often, but I love it. It's where we can play and grow together in community, both on the witchcraft side and the spiritual side. I'm still
Mhm.
that bridge for both ways. And some people desire, I have this witch school that's an online community where I do live teachings once a month, and I give tons and tons of information. It's literally like a library of everything you could want in real time by me. And, it's a monthly fee, and I think it's like $77 a month. And so we do a lot in that community.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Like, so many good things.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, Tahverlee, I'm so happy you joined us today. And I always do this to my poor guests, but I'm like, you shared so much wisdom already.
Yeah.
What words of wisdom would you like to leave us with today?
Mm. So today it's going to be something. I knew you were going to ask me this question, and I was going to sink into my body.
Sure.
Mm. Mm. Embrace change in the multitude of versions of you that have lived up until now. Allow yourself to be more than one thing at a time. You can be dark and edgy and powerful and soft and sweet and feminine. And you can be, spiritual and believe anything that you desire and do this here. You can have have a job and a career and have passions. Give yourself permission to be multi-purposed. Multi-purposed. Yeah. And know that all of the things that you have, and of course, I'm channeling eclipse energy, as you could tell,
Yeah.
all the things that you have lived through in life up till now have prepared you for this last quarter of 2025. So sink into that. What if you were to work your spells and your rituals the rest of this year, knowing that everything in your life so far has led you to this moment? Then what? That could be a journal prompt, that could be a spell, that could be a ritual. Like, if everything I've learned in life has led me to right here and right now, then I let that lead you the final quarter of 2025.
Oh, beautiful. Oh my gosh, such great advice, of course. Well, thank you, Tahverlee. It was such a pleasure
Thank
to have
you.
you here.
It was wonderful. And Marilee, please keep doing all the great work you're doing. You're bringing a lot of great information forward, and thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you so much.
Your support means the world to us. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please take a moment to like, comment, and share it with others who might find this content valuable. And of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay tuned for more enlightening discussions. Your engagement helps us grow, and we appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for being a part of the Casual Temple community.